Hey, Guy Powell here, and welcome to the next episode of the Backstory on Marketing and AI. And if you haven't already done so, please visit ProRelevant.com and sign up for all of these episodes and podcasts. I am the author of the upcoming book, The AI Marketing Machine, and you can find out more about that on my website at marketingmachine.prorelevant.com. Today I'm interviewing Luke Yarnton, and he's with The Rave. And let me tell you a little bit about him. Luke is the co-founder of The Rave, and that is a tool that helps brands uncover influencers already in their customer base. With a fintech and e-commerce background, Luke previously scaled Part Pay across multiple global markets before his acquisition by Zip. He's passionate about helping brands unlock organic growth through customer-led marketing. Luke, that's exactly how it should be done. Welcome, and so good to have you.
Guy, really excited to be here. Excited to be a part of the pod. I did a good bit of listening before joining the pod, some of your previous ones, and particularly found the one with Jeff recently super helpful. And although it's not my area of expertise, I found a lot of parallels with what he was saying specifically around sort of how important impressions are in modern day marketing. So anyone listening to this, I'd suggest you go through the archives and some absolute gold hidden in those previous podcasts that guys recorded.
Well, yeah, thank you, Luke. I really appreciate that. Yeah, with Jeff, he was a lot of fun to speak with, and it's funny how some of these marketing principles really apply. It doesn't matter whether you're, in brand building or media buying or whatever it is, and his thoughts about impressions and how important impressions are, and I kind of look at it as building the layer cake. You need to have impressions across the board, and
Exactly.
influence and including influencers. So well, tell us a little bit about your backstory on AI and marketing, and then tell us a little bit about the Rave and the business of soliciting and winning customer influencers.
Sure. So let's get into that. So I think an important key part of the story is in the year 2018, I'm sort of relatively fresh out of my tertiary college education. I get a job at a business called PartPay. I'm the first non-technical hire within that company, and we've got an office on Takapuna Beach and on Auckland's North Shore. Beautiful views from the office, looking out over the harbour. If you get in early enough, you see the sun rising over Rangitoto Island. And what we were doing is building a buy now, pay later platform, the first buy now, pay later platform in New Zealand. The founders had seen what was happening with Afterpay in Australia, so we were the New Zealand alternative to that and took on the New Zealand market, surrounded by a bunch of really incredible, clever people. And my role was effectively a generalist. That includes marketing, that includes operations, that includes everything in between. Some days I'm picking up the phone and speaking to customers for customer support, and some days I'm doing technical onboarding. But long story short, the business grew really well. Eventually, there was an opportunity for the business to expand beyond New Zealand. The founder looked around the office and was looking for someone to help open the new office in London, and everyone else had a wife and kids, and the most expensive thing that I owned was a surfboard at the time. So I was the one who was packed up onto a plane and sent over to help open an office in London. Soon after I arrived there, we were acquired by a big Australian publicly listed financial technology company called Zip. And from there, I sort of became what's called a market launcher, where I was responsible for opening offices all over the world. They had pretty aggressive growth plans, which involved me opening an office in Mexico City, in Toronto, in Singapore, and assisting with another business that they acquired in the US called QuadPay, which they later acquired the full rights to that business as well, and they're continuing to do well to this day. Towards sort of the end of the COVID time, me and someone who was working with me on this global growth team decided it was about time to step away. There's only so much you can learn within that sort of environment. And as financial technology businesses at that time found, raising money was significantly more difficult. So my expensive growth arm of the business was being a little bit restricted. So we said, hey, look, let's take this opportunity now. We've been speaking to e-commerce merchants the world over as part of what we're doing with buy now, pay later. And what we've found is that the same issues were afflicting merchants the world over, which is based on the back of IDFA changes to how they were able to market and track customers. Their cost per acquisition has skyrocketed.
Mm.
They need new and innovative ways to acquire new customers in order to keep the business running sustainably. So we said, based on what we've learned from buy now, pay later, which is the core principle of like why buy now, pay later has been successful, or one of the core principles is that previously it was applying for point of sale finance effectively at a business or at an e-commerce site. Used to be a very long, drawn out process where you had to fill out a bunch of information. And then there'd be a long period of time where you were waiting for an approval, unsure whether you'd be approved to make a purchase or not. And then you're approved. And what Buy Now Pay Later did is through a bunch of clever API integrations and real time decisioning, we turned that really, really arduous, boring process into you have to enter 3 or 4 data fields. We'll
Mm.
automatically assess the customer at the point of transaction and then give them some purchasing power based on a risk profile that we know that there's a very, very, very low risk that they're going to default in the payment and they can purchase at our store and we'll spread the cost over a fortnightly, bi-weekly period. So we
Yeah.
said, cool. So what we did is took something really complicated and drawn out and made it simpler. So the original idea of the Rave, which is what I'm doing now, version 1.0, was something that has existed for a long time, that's really clunky and annoying and inefficient, is influencer marketing. If an influencer wants to represent a brand, particularly if they're like a micro influencer or a nano influencer, which is our bread and butter, so let's say someone that has 12,000 followers on Instagram wants to represent a brand, they have to fill out a form that usually has probably somewhere between 10 and 15 data fields for them to fill out. And then it's sent over to the brand, and someone within that brand will take 24 to 48 hours on average to think about it. And then you might get approved. And then you're able to represent that brand. And maybe you'll get an affiliate link or gifted some goods
Hmm.
if you're lucky. And we said that sounds like a pretty easy thing to solve. One of the key issues with that is that it was really hard for a brand to process funds back to a customer.
Mm.
It's an inefficient process where you have to wire them some funds, or possibly you have to sort of set up a PayPal transaction. So we said, based on our experience, we can make this really, really, really efficient. What if there was a completely decentralized, democratized influencer world where anyone who wants to represent the brand can represent the brand and get a Venmo payment or a PayPal transaction
Mm.
every single time they refer a friend, family, or follower in real time? Would that make people share more and help them acquire more customers? And the answer was yes. So we did this with, we probably got to about 100 brands using that technology. The best case we found was there's a luggage brand we partnered with. When we integrated with them, they were doing $8 million a year in transactions. By including our democratized affiliate solution in the customer journey, we added $1 million worth of transaction revenue at effectively no cost. They were giving
Yeah, that's
away
a
less to their new customers acquired by our platform um, than they were spending on the equivalent clicks via any of the platforms that they were marketing on. Um,
yeah, that's a pretty good success story, man. Oh man. Um, and I see what you're saying in terms of the complexity, and to your point about retailers
mhm,
nowadays, they have this process because we've been getting credit because we're renovating our house, and so
mhm,
within a very few clicks, you get your credit approved, and it's just
exactly.
amazing. As
Hmm.
opposed to waiting a day or a week or a month or whatever it is,
Yeah,
it's ready right there, and I could see then where in this influencer marketing where a brand wants to hire these influencers and pay them for what they're worth,
exactly.
where I could imagine it's very difficult on both sides. You've got to get all the banking stuff done, and
Hmm.
then purchasing's got to get in the way, and legal's got to get in the
Exactly.
way, and whatever. So makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So what do you see as next in the influencer model?
Yeah. So in terms of how we got to where we are now, working with all these brands that were using our referral and affiliate technology, we found out that they actually really got most excited about one thing, which is when we could show them that there was an influence that was talking about their brand. And the reason that they would discover one of our links is that they've made a purchase organically. So we sort of zoomed out and we said, actually, the value that we're providing here that merchants care the most about is we can get these nano influencers and these micro influencers talking about their brand. So we said, how can we do that more effectively and get a significantly higher level of accuracy in making sure that they don't miss these opportunities of influencers who make a purchase every day? So we threw together a really, really simple solution off the bat, which was every single time a customer made a transaction, um, we're able to see, based on our integration, a very simple customer profile, which gives us sort of their name, their email address, and a couple of other details. We tidy that up using a little AI solution just to make it easy to and comprehensive. And then we've also got access to a couple of different influencer databases around the world with 10 million influencer profiles. So then we say, based on this customer profile that we've created here, does this match any influencer that we can see exist in the world anywhere? And if yes, then we have some fun with it and we can help them capture that influencer and encourage them to join their creator team, their ambassador army, their influencer program, whatever it might be, and get them sharing and talking about the brand as much as possible. So there are a couple of small, clever little AI solutions that we've got embedded into that to make sure that we're hitting them at the right time, we're hitting them with the right message uh, in a way that feels authentic and genuine, but captures that value of a influencer has just made a purchase from you, which means a they actually care about your brand and your brand is top of mind for them at the moment. So anything that they say about your brand is going to be authentic because they've made a purchase with their own cash.
Right.
And then how do we best make sure that we're capturing the value in a mutually beneficial way that makes this influencer base want to talk about you? Because in a
Yeah.
world where digital marketing is becoming and performance marketing is becoming incrementally more difficult every single year, these authentic relationships that these sort of influencers of all size have with their following offers a really unique opportunity to sort of cut through the noise in a way that's super efficient.
Yeah. Now, one thing though with influencers, especially paid influencers,
Hmm.
do they really, are they really being truthful, so to speak, and authentic? We spoke about that before the call. When you're the influencers getting paid, and so really they could almost be a paid sponsorship as opposed to a true kind of an independent recommender that says, man, I tried this out and I really love it, and you as a friend of mine, I want to make sure you know about it as well. How do you get around that? How do you get around that trust side of things with a paid influencer like that?
Yeah, look, so there's a couple of levels to it. And I think this also speaks to a very interesting trend that we're seeing at the moment, which is brands are moving away from these larger macro creators that have more than 500,000 followers and are really, really interested in working with the micro influencers and the nano influencers on the smaller end of the scale. The reason for this is that there's a really good chart that I saw the other day that I should have brought to this, where it sort of shows that as the follower count increases, the level of trust decreases in whatever that influencer has to say. So these smaller influencers have a stronger trust in their audience, and they care more about what their audience feels because there's a more sort of close contact and better sort of interaction that they have. They tend to be a little bit more niche the smaller than they are as well. So their followers weigh pretty heavily on what they have to say. And because they've got that smaller following, they're very careful around what they want to share and promote to their audience because they feel that strong connection. So even the best brand is still not going to cut through with a micro influencer or nano influencer that doesn't really believe in the product because they're not going to risk their small audience on something that might be a dud. There's also, like, I suppose in terms of what our approach is, we try and make it feel as serendipitous and authentic as possible. You never want an influencer to promote something that they're not genuinely excited about because it tends to make for pretty low quality content.
Mm.
Audiences are getting better at sort of judging just how truthful and just how authentic a lot of
Yeah, and I think
these
I think
reviews
you're right.
are.
I think you can definitely see that as well, where where it just doesn't feel genuine. The excitement or the recommendation seems
Hmm.
more formulaic than it does actual,
Exactly.
emotion filled, so to speak. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And I think that these influencers sort of catching on to the fact that the trust that they have is the currency that they play in.
Mm.
And by that I mean people are seeing that brands are starting to use AI generated avatars to create false user generated content at the moment. Um,
Yep.
I believe that's a very short-sighted approach.
Well,
Um,
plus it's I think the FCC frowns upon it because it's it's your stuff trying to influence, and I don't know what the actual regulation is on there, but it's frowned upon, and I think it might actually lead to a at least in the U.S. anyway, some kind of a fine or something like that. So how is AI? How is AI affecting the influencer side of things?
so I think what we're seeing in AI and what it's helping us stand out and it's impacting us. So one of the key things that are happening in AI, specifically looking at the influencer space at the moment, is that there's a lot of these AI powered platforms that allows a brand to reach out to thousands of influencers who've never heard of them before via email typically, and they'll just blast them with a 7-step drip campaign saying, "Hey, promote my product. This is us. This is our product. Promote us. This is the problem we might solve as a product." And so there's a lot of fatigue from
Mm,
the influence perspective around like sorting through these offers that are coming through and trying to make sense of them. So that's where our approach is slightly different in that we're saying, look, we're only going to help you reach out to a customer that already knows and loves your brand. They've heard of you, they already have the product, they're using it, and they have a very high likelihood of them wanting to interact with you as a brand because A, they've already received an order confirmation from you. So your emails have a very, very high likelihood of landing exactly where they need to
mm,
land within their inbox. And the second thing we have is like a slight unfair advantage when it comes to building a relationship with the influencer base. And I'm not sure exactly what the psychological sort of marketing perspective or understanding of why this works as well as it does. But it seems to be that offering someone for a refund on their purchase for them like posting about you is significantly more effective as an incentive than the exact same amount of money as like a would you pay to post about us for, let's say they an example is they've just bought $120 worth of fitness apparel, offering someone a refund of $120 for just popping you on their Instagram story, for example, is significantly more effective than reaching out to them and saying, would you post about us for $120? So that's an unfair advantage that we have
mm.
that seems to activate people phenomenally. I think it feels a little bit more authentic and a little bit more serendipitous if they're like, "Hey, look, whatever you just paid, we'll refund back to you."
Yeah, that is kind of
So,
weird. It's interesting perspective, and maybe it's the connection that the person has with the product and the purchase and stuff like that.
mhm,
It's kind of interesting, But one of the things though too is so we do ROI marketing ROI, and we
mhm,
look at what kinds of programs work better than others, and then
yeah,
the ones that are really working well then you want to invest more in, and the ones that aren't working so well then they get invested less in. So where do you see, and one of the challenges too is when you're measuring effectiveness, it may also be that your creative or your target or something else may be missing and needs to be diagnosed. So for
mhm.
influencer marketing, and especially as it relates to AI, so where do you think brands are wasting money in how they're approaching influencer marketing?
Yeah. So I think one of the clear and obvious wastes is that the average brand that has a community manager and influencer manager is spending a lot of time and energy doing cold outreach to influencers that have never heard of the brand, which is costly. And second to that, if you speak to any brand, particularly in like the e-commerce space and similarly in like the consumer SaaS space, which is where we're sort of increasing our coverage there, the amount of gifting and seeding that goes wasted is astronomical. So I was speaking to a brand the other day that as part of their influencer program, they gift someone a product that has a value. It's not crazy expensive. It was like the standard gift is a $45 product. It's in the supplement space. And they were telling me that on average, for every product they gift, only 20 to 30% will actually post about it. And of those, probably only half of them are actually half decent. So they've given away a bunch of product with the expectation that every product they give away should at least get a post. Um, to find that realistically only 10% of those are worth using
Yeah,
if
yeah,
they post at all.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not really a very ratio, I guess. I guess it also depends though on the one of the things about a giveaway is even though the product might be worth $45 at retail, it may only cost
Hmm.
the brand maybe $5 or maybe,
This is true.
$7 or something like that. So
Yeah.
it's relatively inexpensive to give away product.
I think in speaking to that previous discussion we had around the shift away from these big macro influencers towards the nano influencer and the micro influencer level of the spectrum, is that brands up until now have been cutting these massive checks to get a big influencer posting about them. It can be up to sort of like $50,000 per post is the higher scale of what we've worked with. But consistently, time and time again, those influencers have pretty low engagement rate and often lack the ability to actually get their audience to click through and explore a page,
Mm.
let alone make a purchase. Whereas always sort of constantly modeling this based on the old data we have from the referral and affiliate side of things, we'll get a conversion rate. So someone who used one of our links to click onto a page and then make a transaction is consistently above 8%. So the level of trust they have, if they've got a link from a micro influencer and nano influencer that they trust, they'll convert higher than 8%. And then when we've had someone that has more than 50,000 followers, so towards that macro end of the scale, the conversion rate is consistently below 1%. So there's that massive divide and just how effective they
Yeah.
are at getting their audience to listen to them and how much they trust what's going on in that promotion.
Yeah, no, that and certainly trust is a big issue. And I definitely appreciate that. One thing though, you're using click through as your main metric, and nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But in especially if you've got a pretty strong brand, and
Hmm.
the even a positive, recommendation or referral that might come from your influencer also may get them to purchase in other channels. And I think, it's kind of like this, I like it, call it the layer cake effect because,
Yep.
all of those things kind of add up. And if you leave off one ingredient or if you leave off the
Hmm.
icing or if something like that, then the cake just doesn't, fly very well. It might, well, it
Exactly.
might fly, but it isn't going to taste very good.
No,
And so
100%.
so quite often, if you get a really good recommendation, from a true believer in the product, then it can really drive the brand in other ways and through other channels.
Absolutely. And there's so many layers to it, but I think this top of the funnel awareness that you can get from these influencers
Yeah.
is such low hanging fruit for so many different businesses and brands and apps and everything out there.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So we haven't really talked though too much about how AI influences. Tell me a little bit more of what's really going on there and how AI can be a big part of this of a brand's influencer strategy.
Yeah, so I suppose let me speak to our stack in terms of how we're using AI to help brands connect with influence that matter to them. So for one, we're using our solution that tidies up the customer profile and allows us to match it against an influencer profile that exists globally. And then the second key element is that we've got an AI agent that will send an Instagram DM to that influencer that's going to be sent a long time, the exact same time we've got an email going out to that influencer. So the AI agent, effectively, the benefit of that is it's taking a very time consuming process, which is finding the right profile, constructing a message, sending the message, and delivering that. So previously, Instagram's had a lot of issues with these automated DM style
Mm,
tools where it's very easy to see an automated tool that's sending the exact same DM with the exact same behavior. Where the beauty of some of these clever little AI agents is that they're indifferent, indistinguishable from a human using the same tool, where you can reach out to them in a natural and organic way, acknowledge that they've made a purchase and that you like their content, personalize it to a level that won't be picked up by the Instagram sort of monitors, and deliver a really high value message at the right time.
yeah.
So that's another key element of how we're using AI, particularly in our stack, when it comes to influencer.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense, and that that one of the things we've been playing here internally as well with some AI generated email content and personalizing it so that it's exactly targeted to that individual or that company and what have you.
Exactly.
Just amazing how it makes such a difference and can really drive the business.
100%.
Yeah, and so
Sorry, you go.
no, go ahead.
I was going to say something that we're really excited about that's still it's still in beta testing with us at the moment. Is that again using a similar sort of AI agent style approach? Is that we'll be using it to view the most recent 6 posts of a creator, perform a quality score against that content, specifically referencing who is the brand, who is their ICP, what type of content are they looking to have creators share on their behalf, and then based on how strong that quality fit is, generating a unique offer for that particular influencer based on how valuable we think their post will be. So, for example, and this is still very much in beta, there's a lot of moving parts to sort of get trained here. But we want the tool to be able to say, if I'm a health and fitness brand, my willingness to encourage someone who's a yoga instructor to post about us is significantly higher than if it's just sort of a general lifestyle influencer that does a little bit of athleisure stuff, but not necessarily her voice might not be strongly in the fitness and wellness space. So that offer might be a little bit lower. So having that automatic logic that says this person is a perfect fit for your brand, we see that they've purchased, that could be automatically offering them $300 for them to post about you on their Instagram story. Or it could even be as clever as automatically initiating a bunch of free gifts sent from your Shopify store to that particular person because we know their delivery address already as like a surprise and delight to someone who's super high value versus for someone who's not as helpful, but we still want that top of funnel awareness, offer to refund their most recent order in exchange for an Instagram story or a reel.
Yeah, yeah, interesting. That is, and it is that personalization. And when I think about what you're doing, is basically your customer is the influencer, and so anything that I can do to, personalize my message and timing
Exactly.
and offer to that individual is going to make a lot of
Hmm.
sense. Luke, as much as I'd like to, I could go on for a long time with you, but I think I'm going to have to. We're going to have to do one last question here, and my last question is always about up and coming new marketers and what advice you would give to an up and coming new marketer that wants to come out of college and break into marketing. What kind of advice would you give?
Yeah, so look, I studied marketing in college as well at the University of Auckland, a great school. And at the time, I didn't think much of my marketing degree, but now we're sort of further along in my career and my journey. I think understanding the core fundamentals of marketing are going to remain true no matter what the state of the tools are. So the tools available for marketing have changed dramatically within the last sort of 2 or 3 years specifically, and there'll be job creation and there'll be job destruction along with that. But the core principles of marketing remain true. And for me personally, where I've found the most value, and I think any young marketer should be doing the same thing, is having as many long form conversations with actual users or actual customers informs so much about the way that your product or service is going to be perceived. So for us, and for me, that's hundreds of hours speaking to merchants, hundreds, maybe even thousands of hours speaking to end users of the product, be that influencers or be that everyday shoppers who might want to share. Your exposure to real humans and asking all sorts of different probing questions and sitting and listening to them talk will put you so far ahead of someone who purely just believes that they understand the world without
Mm.
speaking to the humans who exist within it. So your ability to get as many hours of listening time in and learning and reflect on what you've heard, drawing patterns is the ultimate way to get ahead, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, I hope the universities are encouraging, new graduates to do that, is to really spend time with their with Chat GPT or the research and really understand what it is that they want to do, what it is they might be able to do, and and how they can then break into that market. So I think that's going to be one of the new kind of features or functions that a university is going to have to offer their kids, is how to help them to really get that job, given the level of competition that's out there. And the competition is not just individual, it's AI. AI is now, to a large extent, their competition.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Luke, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Influencer marketing is one of the critical channels for all of our customers and clients. We've seen how successful it can be, and so it's great to hear what your story is and how you're helping brands basically treat influencers as a customer, so to speak, and how they acquire them. Thank you, and really appreciate it. So, where can folks reach you and your company to learn more about what you do?
Exactly. You can find me on LinkedIn, Luke Yarrenton, Yarenton. Otherwise, therave.co is my company, and you can read all about what we're doing there. Apply to our waitlist if you're interested in possibly using the technology. But happy to chat with anyone and everyone.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for that. And thanks for being here and very informative. So, for the audience, though, certainly please stay tuned for many other videos in this series of the backstory on marketing and AI. And please visit marketingmachine.prorelevant.com and learn more about my upcoming book, The AI Marketing Machine. Luke, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for your time, guys.